Last year, Pixar released Elio, which completely bombed at the box office, and as the movie itself was really mediocre for what Pixar normally offers. Their original films have not been doing the best this decade. But Hoppers comes out in just a couple of days and I was able to watch it, and I'm proud to say that Pixar is back with their original films, and hopefully this is a trend that we will see officially from now on with every original film they make. Yeah, and like I said, original films for Pixar this decade have been really up and down. Mostly at the box office, they have been flopping, and I do feel like a lot of the mediocre Pixar movies came from this decade. Now don't get me wrong, Pixar of course doesn't really have a single bad movie. There's only like 2 which I don't like. The rest are absolutely great. But Pixar built its IP off of original films, and that era in the 2000s where every single movie was an original film and the greatest movies of all time, that's the Pixar that I miss. And this decade, we have not been getting that at all. But Hoppers, to me, brought back a lot of the stuff that I loved from original Pixar. With a few problems, I will talk about that. But right now, let's talk about everything great about Hoppers. For starters, this film is absolutely hilarious. The entire movie just knows what it is. There's a certain vibe throughout the entire movie that the moment the movie starts, it just becomes a full funny fest with constant good jokes throughout the entire runtime that you can tell the people making this film were having a complete blast making it, because the film is making fun of itself while also commentating on all these different things, also making a joke make sense for the context of the scene. All these different stuff just had this great sense of humor to it all, and made this film a complete blast to watch, and made this film so fun to begin with. But it's not a Pixar film without emotional beats in the movie, because Pixar is known for making people cry. That is still in Hoppers. There are a lot of just sweet and heart-touching scenes throughout this entire movie that involve certain character arcs, different characters, wrapping up the entire story. There is all these different things throughout this entire film that just make for an emotional moment that really tugs at those heartstrings, that you get all these hilarious moments throughout the entire film, and then you stop and remember the emotional weight this movie still has to carry, and you can feel it throughout every single scene it has, just because you care for these characters, and they're able to balance the humor and emotional moments when they need to happen, so this film is a complete blast, but also can still tug at those heartstrings throughout the entire film. And this movie decides to tackle a fantastic theme. Again, Pixar movies were built off of telling a story, but then having a really mature theme in there. This one kind of has that theme back. Not in the sense of old Pixar, but still in the sense that it's a lot more noticeable and a breath of fresh air, especially of what we've been getting from recent Pixar. Finally having a theme that just pops more like that, connecting back to those emotional beats that I did mention of from before. That those two things combined together just made this movie. And this movie just works because it's able to balance all the humor and emotional weight so well together that the movie is just a complete blast to watch. It's the movie that you want to go to the theater to watch just because you turn off your mind and just enjoy the film for what it is. A lot of this movie is Pixar. It has a huge Pixar flair to it because it's the studio that made it. Not quite old Pixar, but not some of the stuff newer Pixar has been giving us either. It's just a nice breath of fresh air that Pixar absolutely needed. It has a lot of funny bits with a lot of serious bits that just makes this movie work so well together. This movie's just overall a complete blast to watch and so fun. I can tell Pixar has a lot of confidence in this movie, and they absolutely should, because it delivers on every margin it needs to deliver on. The movie knows exactly what it is and plays into it, and you can tell the creators were having an absolute blast when making the movie, and it's all brought onto screen. All their hard work, all their art, all their creativity, all of it is shown on screen, and this film comes off as an absolute fun time. I did mention how the film knows what it is and plays into that. With that said though, there are a lot of moments that do still feel over the top, especially in the final act. There's certain chase sequence that just feels over the top. It's hilarious when it needs to be, but a lot of it just feels extremely over the top and kind of separated from what the rest of the movie was telling us. Also, around that same point, the movie feels like it's tackling a lot of different storylines all at the same time, while also not. It just feels like the character is going through a lot of different stuff. The arc is happening with a lot of different layers, it's telling the same theme throughout the entire runtime. But it just feels like when something should be longer, it's not, and we kind of have to jump to the next storyline. And I feel throughout the entire movie, it kind of had that feeling of we're telling this story, but then we have to jump to the next plot point and tell that story. There's not really a lot of breathing room. The only breathing room is the humor thrown throughout this entire movie because it is hilarious. But everything else just feels like, okay, plot A, plot B, plot C. Let's go through all those points, while also having a complete blast when doing so. So overall for Hoppers, it's a complete fresh air for Pixar. It's back to the original roots that it needs to be and kind of revives that originality from Pixar. It's a complete blast while also having a touchy theme in there and a touchy emotional bits throughout the entire movie to make you actually care for these characters and care for everything, while also being a complete blast of a film. Sure, it has a few problems with pacing, over the top stuff, and just the rush of the story, but other than that, for this decade, this is definitely one of the better films that Pixar has given us, and I hope every original film follows this formula until we slowly build up back to what Pixar was originally in the first place. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the signs you too. Like, subscribe, see you guys next time. Goodbye.